The potential Israeli ground offensive into Rafah, the southernmost city in Gaza, appears to be leading to strains and a growing rift in the relationship between Israel and the United States, or at least between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the U.S. President Joe Biden. The two leaders spoke directly yesterday for the first time in more than a month. Alexander Panetta is live with us this morning in our Washington bureau. Alex, tell us about this conversation. It sounded like, according to White House officials, it was a little tense. How did it go? What did Biden want?
So we heard President Biden, who was caught on a hot mic a few days ago, talking about how he and Benjamin Netanyahu were going to have what he called a come to Jesus moment. Probably not the best choice of words when referring to the leader of the Jewish state. But what Biden wants is a sit down, and we may be about to witness that moment he referred to. This is supposed to be a pivotal meeting. Biden wants Israel to send a high-level delegation to Washington with officials from multiple agencies, military, intelligence, humanitarian. He wants to have these officials hear U.S. concerns about this possible ground invasion of Rafah. Now, Israel has accepted this summit will happen as soon as this week. And at this meeting, the U.S. will press Israel to avoid smashing into Rafah, in the words of one White House official. This area at the southern edge of Gaza is not only crowded with displaced Palestinians, but it's also a vital transit point for food and aid. The U.S. wants an alternate plan. Now, here's White House National Security Adviser Jake Sullivan summarizing the leaders' phone call.
The president threatened at any point to withhold military aid to Israel if Israel moves into Rafah or a famine does ensue in Gaza.
The president didn't make threats. What the president said today was, I want you to understand, Mr. Prime Minister, exactly where I am on this. I am for the defeat of Hamas. I believe that they are an evil terrorist group with not just Israeli but American blood on their hands. At the same time, I believe that to get to that, you need a strategy that works. And that strategy should not involve a major military operation that puts thousands and thousands of lives, civilian, innocent lives, at risk in Rafah. There is a better way.
So what is this supposed better way, the alternate plan the U.S. is talking about? Well, it's twofold. In southern Gaza, around Rafah, you'd keep aid flowing, you'd slow the fighting, and limit the attacks and keep them targeted to senior Hamas figures. And in the rest of Gaza, you'd stabilize other areas where Hamas has already been cleared out. The U.S. view is that prioritizing stability throughout the Strip would demonstrate that there is a plan for Gaza for a better future post-Hamas.
Alex, you mentioned the delegation coming from Israel to Washington, but Israel is also going to be on the receiving end of a visit from the U.S. We have the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, off on his 6th visit to the region for some more shuttle diplomacy. We've talked about the ceasefire efforts that Qatar continues to try to broker. Those are the backdrop for this latest diplomatic mission. What will you be watching for there?
Yeah, I'll be watching a pair of objectives that Blinken has for his visit to Egypt and Saudi Arabia. One goal is this potential hostage deal that would pause the fighting, allow more humanitarian aid into Gaza. His other goal is to talk to the Saudis about a long-term peace plan to normalize Saudi-Israeli relations and lay the groundwork for an enduring peace. Let's have a listen.
Also impressed upon Israel the imperative of having a plan for Gaza for when the conflict ends, which we hope will be as soon as possible, consistent with Israel's needs to defend itself and make sure that October 7th can never happen again.
As you said, this is Blinken's 6th visit to the region since the fall. But, you know, the Israeli response to all of this so far has been that what the Biden administration is asking for is foolish, that holding back from Rafah right now would give Hamas time to regroup there and waste all of Israel's military gains over the last several months. And they'll have a chance to discuss all of that over the next few days at this meeting in Washington while Blinken is in the Middle East.
Alex, I always appreciate time with you. Thank you. From our Washington bureau this morning, Alexander Panetta.